What's going on, guys? My name is Matt and this video has been a long time coming. You guys have been super awesome lately, watching and liking the videos, and I haven't done a giveaway in a while, so I figured now would be a great time to do one. And because most of the content on my channel revolves around budget gaming PCs, I thought it would only be natural to give one away. I'm also happy to say that this will in fact be an international giveaway. There are some small caveats if the winner is located outside of the United States, but I'll get into those later in the video. Also, just a disclaimer, this isn't going to be anything super high spec, but it will be perfect for all of today's most popular titles, and for example, can run a game like PUBG at well over 60 FPS. Going into this, I wanted to make a system that 1, had decent performance, and 2, was upgradable, which I think I did a decent job of. The value of the system is right around $300, and for that price you're getting a relatively modern platform with the ability to upgrade in the future without a major system overhaul. Most of these parts I had from other projects, so instead of purchase price, I'll use market value for each part just to give you a rough estimate of how much each part is worth. So let's get into the parts that make up this system. Starting off with the CPU, the system's using the Kaby Lake based Pentium G4560. This got released in 2017 and was pretty much the best sub $100 CPU at the time. Even in 2019, it performs really well, with 2 cores and 4 threads at 3.5 GHz. Multi-threaded workloads definitely aren't ideal for this CPU, but gaming is handled just fine by this little Pentium. Like I said before, this is a Kaby Lake processor and could be replaced with something like an i5-7400 or even an i7-7700 later down the line for more performance. In terms of current value, the Pentium G4560 sells for between $45 and $50 on eBay, which is a pretty decent value for the money. Moving on to the motherboard that this processor fits into, I'm using the BioStar Hi-Fi B150D4. This is a pretty basic LGA 1151 motherboard, but it works great in tandem with the rest of the system and certainly gets the job done. It has all the necessities, including SATA 6 gigabit per second ports, USB 3, and a 16x PCIe slot for our graphics card, and also another 1x slot open for something like a Wi-Fi card or any other 1x expansion card. These days, B150 boards are selling for between $25 and $30 on eBay. Moving on to the CPU cooler, I'm just using an Intel stock cooler. This cools the G4560 perfectly fine and came included with it originally, so it was free, but market value for a stock cooler like this one is right around $5. Again, nothing fancy, but it gets the job done. Next up is RAM. The system's using 8GB of Patriot DDR4 RAM at 2.6 GHz. 8GB good for most any game, and because Intel CPUs don't need super fast RAM, this 2x4GB kit at 2666 MHz works great in dual channel operation. The only downside is that upgrading will require replacing these 2 sticks because there are only 2 DIMM slots available. 8GB of DDR4 has a market value of around $50. DDR4 is really cheap right now, so if you're looking to upgrade, now is the time. Moving on to storage, this system's using a 256GB ADATA SU800 SSD. This is my go-to budget boot drive as it has DRAM, is relatively reliable, and generally goes on sale for really good prices. This will be enough storage for the Windows 10 operating system, your programs, and some of your most played games. Starting out with an SSD is a really good idea, even on a budget system in my opinion, as it has a really big impact on your computing experience. Startup times, program loading times, file transfers, and the overall snappiness of your system are greatly improved by foregoing a mechanical hard drive and using an SSD as your boot drive. Also, adding mass storage in the form of a hard drive later down the line is super easy and relatively affordable. A new 256GB SSD like this one has a market value of $35, which for a quality drive with DRAM is a really good value. Next up is the graphics card. I wanted to use something decently powerful, as even though the G4560 is a budget CPU, it can still pair well with a relatively powerful graphics card. With this in mind, I decided to use an AMD RX 470. These cards are a great deal right now with a market value of around $75. benchmarks. This is an MSI Armor version with 4GB of video memory, and overall performance is great. One of the big factors for picking this card over other budget options is that in this price range, most cards only have 2GB of video memory, which can hold you back in modern titles. As you'll see from the benchmarks, this RX 470 pairs really well with this G4560 and performs really great. To power the system, I went with a 600 watt 80 plus bronze Rosewell unit, which I had from another project. 600 watts is way more than enough for this system and gives you a good amount of headroom for future upgrades. This unit is non-modular and has ketchup and mustard cables, but at the end of the day, it works great, providing plenty of clean, reliable power to the entire system. In terms of value, a unit like this is easily worth $20 on a site like eBay. Finally, all these parts need a place to live, and that's where this case comes into play. This is one of my favorite micro ATX cases, and this exact case actually housed my personal rig for a while. This Ragentech Styx has a full brushed aluminum outer shell that looks really nice and unique in my opinion. Another cool thing about this case is it has an inverted layout, with the internals basically flipped upside down. Cable management isn't great, but it only has a small window, so you really don't see too much of the internals. If the winner really doesn't like this case, I can swap it out for a more standard tower style case, but that's completely up to whoever wins it. New, this is an $80 case, but I'll value it at $40 for the sake of this video. With a value of $300, this may not be the absolute best price to performance rig, but I think it'll suit someone very well. So enough about the parts, let's go ahead and get into the benchmarks for this system. I only tested a few games to give you guys a basic idea of how this system performs. These games include Fortnite, PUBG, and Far Cry 5. Starting off with Fortnite at 1080p competitive settings, which I'll throw the exact settings up on the screen right now. The system produced a really great 133 FPS average with 1% lows of 83. This was a really good experience, and I was surprised to see how well this system performed. Next up is Far Cry 5. This game represents a more modern title that's very graphically intensive. I used the built-in benchmark at 1080p high settings, and the system produced an average of 58 FPS and 1% lows of 50. Being able to run a game like Far Cry 5 at high settings with a nearly 60 FPS average is really awesome. I thought the G4560 might be a bottleneck in a lot of situations, but in Far Cry 5, the RX 470 was pretty much pegged at 100% the entire time, with the G4560 fluctuating between 70 and 90% usage. The final game tested was PUBG, another very popular title. I tested at 1080p medium settings, and again saw pretty decent performance. The system produced an average of 80 FPS, with 1% lows of 49. This was a pretty good experience, and it was nice to see the average be well above 60 FPS. As you can see, the combination of the CPU and GPU produces really great performance for the money, even in a modern game like Far Cry 5. Also, just to note, CSGO, Rocket League, Overwatch, and pretty much any other esports title will run great on this machine. So now that you've seen the parts and have seen how this guy performs, let's go into some details about how you can win it. Because of YouTube's new rules, I can't link you directly to the giveaway page, so you'll need to access it by going to my Twitter and clicking on the pinned tweet. This will bring you to the Gleam page with all the information. You don't have to subscribe, and you can see all the ways to enter on the contest page. I'll draw the winner in 1 month on July 6th, or when I hit 80k subs, whichever comes first. Please use an email you check on a regular basis. I'll email the winner and they'll have 48 hours to respond. If I get no response, a new person will be selected. If you win and are outside of the US, you'll have to incur any of the taxes or fees associated with receiving the prize. Also, if the winner's international, I'll likely send all the components without the case, and then give the winner some money to buy a case and assemble the PC themselves. This way it'll cut down on weight and size, which will hopefully reduce the shipping cost. Again, I want to thank you guys for supporting the channel. I'll do my best to do more of these giveaways in the future if this one goes well, and finally, good luck. I hope the person who wins this will use the PC, or will give it to someone in their life that wants to get into PC gaming. With that being said, everyone's welcome to enter, and everyone has an equal chance of winning. So yeah guys, I think this wraps this video up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, as well as consider subscribing for more PC and tech related content in the future. And as always, this is Matt from Tech by Matt, signing out.